Today on the newscast, Israel conducts a major anti-terror raid and eliminates a top terror leader. Find out where it was and who it was next. Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast and welcome to TBN's New York City studio. You may be scratching your head and saying, wait a minute, you were just in Jerusalem. Yes, I was. I just landed yesterday afternoon from an incredible week-long production in Israel. And now I was on the train right to New York City because we had a very important interview this morning with the one and only Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Folks, you won't want to miss it. My exclusive interview with Ron DeSantis coming up on November 7th as part of our TBN special, Restoring America. 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the 7th, the day before the midterms here in the U.S. This special will include my interviews with Governor Ron DeSantis, former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, Franklin Graham, and many more. So mark your calendars November 7th for our Restoring America special. In the meantime, hey, I may have left the Middle East, but the Middle East never sleeps, and unfortunately, terror has not left the region and left Israel's doorstep. A major anti-terror raid carried out overnight by the Israel Defense Forces, Israeli police, and Israel's Shin Bet security services in the city of Nablus. Now, in the Bible, Nablus was known as Shechem. It's the site of Joseph's tomb, but unfortunately now it is home to a new Palestinian terror group calling itself the Lion's Den. Now, Lion's Den consists of a mainly younger group of terrorists in their 20s and early 30s. They are well armed, and they have been really stirring things up, folks, over the past 2 months or so, leading what is turning more and more into a mini insurrection there in Nablus, also in Jenin, another nearby Palestinian city, really in several parts of the West Bank, which here on the newscast we know as Judea and Samaria, because that's what the Bible calls it. That is the biblical heartland. Yet right now we have this terror wave in places like Nablus, Jenin, in the eastern half of Jerusalem and other points throughout the West Bank. So Israel felt compelled to finally take action. Now, Israel has been taking action over the past few months, several anti-terror raids, but this today, folks, overnight was a big one. It comes on the heels of several shooting attacks by this Lion's Den terror group. Its murder of an Israeli soldier about 2 weeks ago, that was a major turning point there. And the violence was not abating. It was getting worse on a daily basis. So Israel said, okay, we have to act. Obviously, Israel already has its hands full with Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad, the two major Iranian-backed terror groups, but the Lion's Den was really starting to make a lot of noise and cause some damage and winning new converts to its side, I should say. They've been calling this the so-called TikTok Intifada. The popular social media app TikTok has been used to great effect by the Lion's Den to broadcast its terror attacks and also recruit new members. All that to say, overnight, in that major operation I mentioned, the old city of Nablus, which is the headquarters for this Lion's Den group, the IDF, the Shin Bet, and Israeli police conducted what was a 3-hour-plus operation reportedly. Some major firefights ensued, and Israel was able to eliminate 5 of these Lion's Den terrorists, including a top leader. His name is Wadee al-Houh. I think I'm pronouncing it right. He is a founding member of this Lion's Den terror group, and a bomb-making factory also targeted in these raids. So a major operation, 5 terrorists killed, the bomb-making factory taken out. And again, as I mentioned earlier, this is a very well-armed group. Yes, they are relatively young, and it doesn't seem that they have any state backing, unlike Hamas and Islamic Jihad, who obviously have the backing of the Iranian regime. This seems to be largely a grassroots terror movement, but certainly they have gained popularity like wildfire across the West Bank. And part of that, in talking to Israeli officials over the past week during my time there, part of that is because of the incredible unpopularity of the Palestinian Authority led by Mahmoud Abbas, and the main reason they are hated by large segments of the Palestinian population is their rampant corruption. Remember, Mahmoud Abbas was supposed to serve a 4-year term as president of the Palestinian Authority. It's now approaching getting near 20 years with him still in office. So much for free and fair elections. But that's the tip of the iceberg when it comes to corruption in the Palestinian Authority. Remember, folks, the world, whether it's the U.S., the EU, others, are pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into the Palestinian Authority every year. Yet Palestinians still live by and large in poverty. Where is the money going, you might ask? Good question. Many of it is going into the pockets of Palestinian Authority officials. None was more notorious, of course, than the not so dearly departed terror leader Yasser Arafat, who at the time he died was reportedly, or had a fortune reportedly northwards of $1 billion. Terror pays, I suppose, in this case. But Israel today taking action. I'm just looking down so I get these names right. Tamer el-Kalani was another Lion's Den terrorist who was killed on Saturday this past weekend. Apparently, a motorcycle with an explosive device attached to it detonated and killed him. An assassination in Nablus. And Israel continues to take steps to tamp down and crack down on this Lion's Den terror group before it can expand its tentacles anymore. Yair Lapid, the interim prime minister, and Benny Gantz, the defense minister, had some tough comments today saying, wherever there are terrorists attacking Israelis, we will act. So this Lion's Den group is clearly on notice. Again, folks, I can't stress enough, they've been using TikTok and other social media apps to build their following and build their base of support. They have cheerleaders, sadly, throughout Gaza and the West Bank. And just before I came on air with you, reportedly at least 100 Gazans or Palestinians in Gaza had gathered at the security fence there to protest this major anti-terror raid that Israel carried out. Now, of course, this has shades and echoes of the Second Intifada, which raged between 2000 and 2006. Nablus was a place, certainly, that Israel conducted operations during that time. And Jenin, then and now, continues, sadly, to be a terror hub. Mainly, Jenin is manned by Palestinian Islamic Jihad, who I mentioned earlier, that Iran-backed terror group. So we're keeping a very close eye on this, folks, everything that is happening right now in Nablus. And we hope this doesn't grow into some sort of third intifada. We've had many little intifadas, not little, but many intifadas over the past few years. The so-called stabbing intifada 2016, where Palestinians were literally stabbing Israelis on the streets, seemingly at random, but not at random. An Israeli would be at the bus stop and they would fall victim to a stabbing attack. That raged for several weeks. We had a massive uptick in terror also this past spring, 2022. Now people are calling this latest wave the TikTok intifada. Israel is acting, and that's good. Let's hope that this thing gets nipped in the bud now and does not expand any further. And you have to wonder if this Lion's Den group is auditioning for potential sponsors, who knows, like the Iranian regime. The Lion's Den is a secular terror group, reportedly. They don't subscribe to radical Islamist ideology like Hamas and Islamic Jihad, but you have to think that there is some synergy and cooperation there between the Lion's Den and these Islamic jihadi groups. So we're keeping a very close eye on this again. We will break this down more for you tomorrow, Wednesday, October 26th. Wow, October's almost over. Live stream here on the channel between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Time, a solid hour where we will break down all things Middle East and beyond and why it matters to you no matter where you live. We break down a little bit of scripture, a little bit of prophecy as well. It's conversational. You can send your questions to me for this 1-hour live stream. We have a Q&A session that I think you will like, so be sure to join us here tomorrow, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, for that Watchman Newscast live stream. Until tomorrow, until then, thanks so much for joining us today here on the Newscast. God bless you. And remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, make sure you go ahead and hit the like button, click subscribe, and tap the bell icon to turn on notifications for new Watchman Newscast episodes every weekday.